Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for April 28th, 2017. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. The previous few sessions here, we've tried to see acceptance above this 2388.75, and that continues to be a major area of rejection for the ES. And where that level comes from is this high right here. That's the impulse high before we saw the impulse move down into 2317s. That gives us our key range. So we've been watching 1775 down here, 8875 up here as the outer edges of the range. And of course we've had the midpoint here at 53 and 54 as the major pivot as well. So these key levels off of the impulse move have been very, very important. We did have a bit of a rejection day here of prices above 2390. Bears are trying to keep 2388s offered for a shot at returning this thing back toward 53. However, right now we've got a very tightly coiled price action inside day building out. We have a slew of economic reports this morning, including FOMC speakers, so we could be looking at expansion from this range. Now, if price is able to push beyond 2390 and find acceptance, again, the goal here is eventually this thing is likely going to roll higher and continue to see expansion overall. But we do have a very well-defined trading range here that continues to see trading range activity. So if there's any failure to really get beyond 2400 or stay above 2376.5, then we could be looking at another rotation down within the range. This is what I talked about before. 2376.5 is so important, and right now price is holding just above it and not really seeing expansion. So if there's any failure up here, then these stops can get run below 76, and that's what could lead to the next push down into the LVN. Any push into the LVN could be another opportunity to defend and rotate back up. So we'll be keeping an eye on that and see how it plays out here over the next week. We do have the new pivots coming up Monday for the month. That's going to be May 1st. We're going to be doing a monthly market outlook Monday afternoon to see what new opportunities may be ahead for the new month. And today's going to go a long way toward helping define where those pivots are. All right, let's take a look at the intraday time frame. Here's the intraday time frame. Basically, price pushes up to 2388.75. That was the high yesterday. If you recall, that's the area we mentioned would likely be resistance. That was the area we mentioned yesterday that bears want to defend. And the only rotation into 88s was defended, and we saw that move back to VWAP by the end of the day. It closed a little higher. Again this morning, 88.75 is again the high. But that doesn't mean it remains the high. You can see there's some higher lows coming into it, very tightly coiled price action. This is still a very significant level. If these bears aren't getting paid here, we may see a run of the stops and a test of prices into 2400. So this is going to be very important. Again, 76.5 is very important at the bottom of the range, and so any test of this level still likely to be defended on the first test basis. A failure to hold 76s will start to rotate back toward 50 and perhaps down toward recent lows at 2317. All right, let's take a look here at crude oil. Here's a look at crude. We're currently trading in a range at highs. Now, if you look at the previous session, we had a significant rejection day. We had an absorption signature that led to a nice intraday rally yet again. And here's the daily time frame. Look at this significant rejection tail here. The midpoint comes in right at 48.80. It's right near previous lows here. So any rotation into 48.80 still offers an opportunity for bulls to defend and perhaps squeeze back toward 51.06 and maybe back toward 53s. So again, we're watching this area to see how it behaves. 48.80 is major support. Bulls need to keep it defended. Otherwise, breaking below 48.80 extends this move back toward 47.10. Now right here, all the stops are above 50.20. Bears have been defending here and here Monday and Tuesday, so there are buy stops above that area. Pushing through 50.20 either today or maybe next week would run those stops and start to work this thing back toward 53. So right now 48.80 very important and 50.20 very important. If we look at the intraday time frame, you'll see here very clear trading range action that we've seen lately off of the 49.20s and 49.63s. So this is the previous week's close being defended at the moment. This is the previous session's close being defended at the moment, giving us two-way trade. So fading the edges of this range, fade new highs, fade new lows, is a good idea, but the move is currently to the upside. Here's the previous session's absorption signature. Very nice rally after that move. Here's the 48.80. So again, we could drop into 48.80 below S3, and that would provide a very powerful zone to watch for a trap and a reversal. Any failure to hold this level rotates this thing back toward recent lows and perhaps lower. All right, let's take a look at gold futures. Here's a look at gold. We've been talking about 63s as being the major pivot to hold for gold and how all rotations have been defended so far. We haven't really seen a major lift off that level just yet, but we have been seeing bulls defend, bulls trap below and defend, trap and defend. But look at this now. We have an inside day building today and a double inside day over the last 2 to 3 days. That's significantly tightly cooled price action. At some point, we're going to see expansion. Keep in mind, when you have a tightly cooled price like this, the first breakout can oftentimes be false, and that can signal a move in the opposite direction. So watch that. If we push up first and start to reject, we may be going down. If we push down first and start to reject, we may be going up. So I always say you have to watch for the first breakout out of the narrow range. But right now, everything's still pointing up. But this is the level. Any failure to hold 63s will start to rotate this thing back toward 12, 40, and perhaps into 1232. Here's a look at the intraday time frame. On an intraday basis right here, you can see that price currently holding above the previous session's close. We've had a quiet uptrending market, but again, we're still inside range for the most part of the previous session's range. And right now, the early little trading range is from 63 into about 70, and that's kind of what's happening at the moment. So not a whole lot of participation on the intraday time frame. I would watch the 63s to keep a higher time frame look at this chart. All right, let's take a look at the NQ. Here's a look at the NQ. Let's go to higher time frame NQ right now. Here it is. Very, very bullish. One thing we were looking for were signs of rejection after this day, because this was the day we were breaking above prior highs, breaking above the top of the range. If there was going to be any rejection of prices above this level and we start pulling back below, that would have been an indication of another rotation. But in this case, price held. There was no rejection, and that was indicative of continued expansion. If we bring up the monthly bull pivots here, we'll make those bull, say okay. From this low of the month, we're forecasting the move into 55.42. That was the primary bull target for the month, one that we talked about before. And then here we have 56.11. That's the 100% expansion. So on an average month, over the last 10 months, you would get to this target. And right now, on the last trading day of the month, we may still see 56.11. So this has been a very, very bullish advance. You can see week over week, if we were to close right now, this would be the pivot range, higher value. That means any pullback next week could still be a buying opportunity for a continuation. You can see an LVN developing here around 5,500. So now, after this big push up, any rotation in the 5,500 or just below 54.80 could still be a fantastic buying opportunity for a continuation even higher. Here's a look at the intraday time frame. On the intraday basis, the market continues to push up. You can see how strong that rally was here late in the day. We had earnings come out for some of the big tech companies. Tech has been very, very bullish. And look at after the rally here, you've seen an LVN come into play. Any rotation into that zone, 55.75, could be a short-term buying opportunity on the way back up. Any failure to hold that zone would rotate this thing back toward 55.50. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the session. Remember, next week, Monday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Central, I'll be hosting a free monthly market outlook, and we'll be looking at these futures contracts on a higher time frame basis for the upcoming month, in addition to looking for stock opportunities to play off those rotations. All right, have a great weekend, and good luck and trade well today. I'll see you soon.